Welcome to the Story Learning Podcast, regular doses of language learning tips and motivation to help you become fluent in any language. With me, Olly Richards. For language programs, books, free resources, and much more, visit StoryLearning.com.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Now, I am sitting in the departure lounge of Montreal International Airport, hence a little bit of background noise here today. And I've just been all weekend at the Montreal Language Festival, which has been absolutely fantastic. And as it happens, I just received a voice message from my friend Chris, who runs the Actual Fluency podcast, and he wanted to know what the event was like and how it was. So rather than just reply to him in a lazy message, I thought I would give him a comprehensive reply whilst also making it available here on the podcast for you guys to listen to, so that you can hear some of my reactions and thoughts and things that I've learned myself during the weekend. So that's what you're going to get today in today's episode. I took lots of behind the scenes photos and videos which are on Instagram, so if you'd like to see those, then look for me on Instagram at I Will Teach You a Language, all one word, and you'll see what we've been up to all weekend, the flattering and not so flattering shots. So, without any further ado, here's Chris.
Yo, Ollie, how's it going? I was checking out some videos and pictures from the Langfest, and it looked like you guys had a good time. How did it go? I mean, I was really gutted I couldn't be there. I hope to make it next year, but yeah, how was it? What was different this year compared to last year, and like, what are you hoping for next year? I see they already announced that it's going to be there again, so I'm definitely going that time.
Hey man, it's good to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying Manchester. I'm still very impressed you moved to the UK. So yeah, I'm going to have to make it up there and see you sometime. Montreal, yeah, it was great. I had a fantastic weekend. It was pretty busy, pretty hectic. It's funny, I think people have very different conference experiences. I was kind of conscious this weekend that I was doing quite a lot of work-related stuff. I was meeting various people who were here representing companies and publishers and stuff like that, and so I was pretty tied up, and of course I was speaking as well. And it just kind of struck me that a lot of people who were here at their first conference probably had a much more fun, enjoyable time than I did. But I definitely, I attended a lot of talks, and I definitely have some kind of takeaway thoughts. There were a lot of people there. I think there were over 350 people there this time, and a lot of people from the language community were there. People from Europe, people travelled in from Shanghai, from America. It was really, really well attended, and that is fantastic because, for obvious reasons, the more the merrier, right? But a lot of our mutual friends were there, people I hadn't met before as well. So that was great. I think above all, like the thing I most like about coming to these things is it's like an opportunity just to step away from the day-to-day and to think about what we do with language learning in a more kind of detached way. And of course, there's lots of talks from very, very smart people on language learning, and you don't necessarily agree with everything you hear, but it makes you think and it makes you reflect, and that was great. So headline things. Stephen Krashen was there, Dr. Stephen Krashen. He is the most cited academic in the field of applied linguistics. And when I was training as a teacher and stuff, he's the guy that every single foreign language teacher knows about. And so I was like a bit starry-eyed there to meet him, and I sat down and managed to corner him for a interview as well, which is going to be on the podcast soon. And that was like a bit of a win for me there. But I think because he was there and he gave one of the plenary talks, one of the big themes for this weekend was what he calls comprehensible input. And comprehensible input is nothing new in the field of second language acquisition. It's been around since the late 70s. There's an idea, but it was very interesting to see how that kind of went down in a conference with hundreds of people who speak multiple languages. And because comprehensible input it's not a method of language learning, but it is a kind of concept of of what's the best way to put it? Well, let me explain what it is. Comprehensible input is the idea that you learn languages by exposing yourself to material that you can understand. Right? It might be you won't understand everything, but you can understand enough to derive enjoyment and meaning from it. And Krashen's theory of comprehensible input holds that if you simply expose yourself to large amounts of comprehensible input, in other words, reading and listening material that you can understand and you enjoy, and you just keep doing lots of that, that is the way that you will learn a language. And importantly, the theory is that that's the foundation, and things like speaking in another language emerge out of that. So it's a very kind of the theory is all about large amounts of input from the beginning, and as the foundation of your language learning. So this was like, for me, this was the theme of the conference, and for me, like I said, it's nothing new because I've studied this stuff. But for I think a lot of other people, you see, here's the interesting thing. Because I was talking with Krashen about this, and I was saying that I was asking him, how do you see the theory and the research that you've been doing over the last 30 years? How does that sit, and how does that gel with this community of people who are actually doing the language learning thing at the top of their game? And he said that everything that he saw and heard this weekend all reinforced the idea that the most prolific language learners learn with comprehensible input. Anyway, I'm going to be releasing stuff about that in the coming weeks, so I won't go on about that. But it was really cool to see to meet Krashen and Steve Kaufman as well, he's been on the podcast before. He's a very well-known language learning figure. He, as you know, like his whole method is based around a lot of reading and listening, and so he was just like in heaven hearing all this stuff, because it kind of confirmed his ideas about language acquisition, and the opposite was true as well. Like Krashen, hearing Steve Kaufman talking about what he does to learn languages it's like confirmation of this theory. So it was very interesting to kind of see this idea that I've been familiar with for a long time, and I base a lot of my kind of teaching on, and actually seeing that materialize and be spoken about in the conference. So that was also the other thing, was that me and Stephen Krashen have one thing in common, which is that we've both produced graded readers, our storybooks. It turns out that he's produced a series of storybooks in Chinese. So we hit it off in that sense, and that was good kind of validation for me. I think more broadly, and again, a lot of this came from the kind of theoretical input that Krashen gave. One of the things that really stuck with me, and again, it's nothing new, but it's just when you hear so many people talking about it, sometimes these things stick, right? Is the concept of not just comprehensible input, but compelling input. And so many people spoke about this. Richard Simcott spoke about this. Steve Kaufman spoke about it. Alex Rawlings spoke about it. The idea that, like, what do prolific language learners have in common? You can really boil it down to a few things often, and the passion for learning the language that you've chosen to learn, and then going out and looking for compelling input, really interesting stuff to learn with. Like that's something that came up a lot, and the emphasis on that was a good reminder for me. I think of what really matters in language learning. So I think that's helped focus me a lot in my own learning. I met some people from italki, which is cool, because italki sponsored the podcast, and italki has always been a great fit for the podcast for as sponsors, because they make it easy and accessible to get teachers or tutors who can get you that speaking practice, right? And so, I mean, I've known the people from italki for a while, but it was really good to have a sit down meeting with Mario and Tracy from italki, and we talked about how we can better kind of help the community of people who follow what we do. So that was really nice. And yeah, I mean, more broadly, I mean, what else? I mean, it was good for me to catch up with friends. I spent I spent a day with Richard, walking around Montreal, having lunch, and just joking about random things. And we also hung out with Alex one evening, which was a bit of a kind of polyglot workshop reunion. In case you're not familiar with that, for a couple of years, myself and Alex Rawlings and Richard Simcott, we went around the world delivering polyglot workshops, is what we called them. So we'd get people would come to the workshops, and we'd just spend a whole day working with them on their language learning, and that was really, really fun. We don't have any plans to do anything in the near future, but we kind of thought it was nice to hang out, so we thought, well, we should maybe think about getting those back up and running again. It was good to catch up with those guys. It was also good to spend some good time with Benny. We spent a couple of evenings together talking about Benny's got some crazy stuff going on. He really has. He's getting into to data a lot and thinking about how he can use, because Benny has so many people following his work with Fluent in 3 months, that he's got a fantastic opportunity to actually learn from the data that he can get from those. And so I think he's going to be coming up with some really exciting things in the future with that. What else? I spent a lot of time with Steve Kaufman as well, and Steve's an idol of mine. I think Steve is just one of the best thinkers and articulators of language learning, and so it was always a pleasure to hang out with him. And then lastly, I had great fun in Montreal. I mean, it is a amazing city, really cosmopolitan. I think it gives London a run for its money in terms of cosmopolitanism, if that's a word, like ethnic diversity. It's fantastic. And the fact that you can go there and the language that you hear most often is French as well. And myself and Alex had the same feeling coming out of Montreal, which is that both of us, we both speak French. But we have a kind of funny relationship with it. I've never really had that many French friends, and it might be because of the old rivalry between the UK and France, who knows. But we've had a complex relationship with France and French, I think. But the thing about coming to Montreal is that the people here, they're North American, but French is the dominant language in Montreal, and so it gives you a totally new spin on speaking French, because you're speaking to the kind of North American person that you're familiar with, culturally and all that stuff, but you're speaking in French. So it's a very interesting experience to kind of speak another language through different eyes, and people here, when you speak French, respond and interact with you in a very different way to French speakers in France. And so that's been really interesting. Every time I come here, it kind of rekindles my enjoyment for French. So I went to a bookshop this afternoon and bought a couple of French books, which I'm going to enjoy reading over the next few weeks. So that's been really cool. I also came away with the feeling that organising a conference is a lot of work. I don't think it's for me, conference organising. I mean, Tetsu and Joey, who organised the Montreal Language Conference, they did a fantastic job. Really. They are so passionate and also a little bit crazy, which is a good thing, because it means they just go above and beyond to create these events, and they've done even better this year than last year. So man, it was great. I hope you can make it next year. I'll definitely be back, and I've got a funny beeping sound going off in the background. Maybe that means someone's panini is ready in the Starbucks just around the corner. Anyway, hope you're doing well, and hope we can catch up soon. All the best.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. And here at Story Learning, everything that I do is powered by stories, whether that's writing books, teaching lessons, crafting courses. My mission is to help everyone succeed at learning a new language through the power of story. And we now have comprehensive language courses in over 15 languages, from Spanish to French, Korean to Japanese, and across all levels from beginner to mastery. And you can take a 7-day free trial of any of these programs by visiting storylearning.com/courses.
I've poured my heart and soul into creating these courses over the last 10 or so years, and we've helped tens of thousands of new students achieve their dreams of learning a new language, all through the power of story. So go ahead and take a free trial. There's no commitment. You can try out our method for free. See if this can also be the breakthrough for you that it's been for so many other people. StoryLearning.com/courses.